Welcome back to a new Genesis replay. We had a big points list update, and this is one of the first replays I'm having for the new points list, and it's an updated version of Branded, and a nerfed down version of Branded against and also nerfed down version of Fire King, so I think it's fair. Fire King lost the pot of extra guns, which is a huge hit to the deck because it usually already operates at 100 points, so now it cannot incorporate the draw 2. It basically lost pot of greed for itself, so that kind of hurts a lot, I think. And yeah, also Despia Branded lost a lot of cards. We had the whole extra deck basically murdered, and yeah, now your grind game is a lot worse. And yeah, I still try to play Branded because I really like the deck, and let's see how it goes. I'm going second here in this game, and he starts, but his hand isn't really looking that good. He kind of bricked, but you never brick if you have a fire monster that you can set that it gets you pop everything out of the extra deck, and also a way to pop it, and then triggers for pop. He has Kirin, he has Garunic, so he doesn't do in the first turn a lot of things, but he can do a lot of things on my turn. And yes, he just starts by setting the Jurrac Megalo so he can pop it and then send one from his extra deck, so he'll be able to pop the whole board. And he sets the final bring of the end time, sets both final bring of the end time, and then he passes turn. Then it's my turn. I also draw final bring of the end times, which usually is a good card to draw because now my Oliver cannot get popped, no, cannot get negated when I'm trying to search with it. But against Fire King, this is not the greatest thing to have, a pop. I'm also playing Light of the Branded, which is a card that lets me recycle, because if I have a fusion monster in my graveyard, I can, or in my field, I can return it to the extra decks and then special summon Fallen of the Albus from the graveyard. This is a way to use your single Albion that you can now play, and then also shuffle it back in the opponent's turn to be able to send it again with Mirror Jade, so you can get your grind game going. My hand overall, though, is pretty good. I have Fusion Deployment, I have Oliver, which is always a great combo. Then I also have Final Bringer to dodge stuff. Quem is kind of dead here in the hand because I can only normal summon Aluber or Quem, and Radiant, the multi-dimensional Kaiju, also kind of nice to have in the, if you go second. But yeah, I guess there is not a lot to Kaiju here. But my hand is kind of good, so I'm always starting with Fusion Deployment, showing the Grangoniol, also the single one you can play, special summoning the Quem, then normal summoning the Aluber, which is always the right way you have to sequence this. Getting Branded Fusion, I think this is always the right search here because there's not a lot of Ashen format, but I do not know what I'm playing against. I only know that he kind of bricked, right? But I just straight up starting to use Branded Fusion. I'm not really boring about the back row because there's not a lot of back row that can interrupt my Branded Fusion here in game one, I think. So I'm just trying it. I'm also playing the Light Hexsteel Fusion now because this one can get me some other targets out that I have to play now because, yeah, we cannot play a lot of branded cards anymore, but I can still play the one Albion, which is really required to play. Use Albion's effect, and then I actually fuse here with the Oliver and the Light Hexsteel Fusion, which can be anything. For Lubellion, so this acts as an Albus, so I still have the Albus in graveyard, which is always better to have the Albus in graveyard because it can be like reborn or targeted with Branded Red. Then I use the effect of Lubellion, discard a Kaiju because it doesn't do a lot of things here, and then use Lubellion's effect, and also chain the Cartesia here because I also want to utilize the body of Lubellion, and I also can use the body of Albion here, and this is two dragons, light and dark. So this one will likely be, yeah, the Chaos, and the Chaos is here to pop the both back row. So I will be able to play around those before committing too much on the board. But now I have the Mirror Jade. If he now decides to pop the Mirror Jade, I won't be able to protect him because I don't have opening in the graveyard, but I still have some resources now left. Then I use the Chaos to pop. He thinks what he wants to do. He wants to pop the Megalo and also the Cartesia. I'm thinking, and I'm just letting it resolve because I see no reason for me to like use the Mirror Jade to like banish or something like my own Cartesia or his target, because if I banish one, the other target will still get popped. So I rather let my Cartesia getting popped and then be able to add it back in the end phase, because this one touched the graveyard, right? So yeah. And then I pop the other Final Bringer of the End Time, and now the Jurrac Megalo actually triggers and gives me a harder time right here. And he also triggers the Garunix, which is fine, I guess. And then he specials the Garunix, sends the Jurrac Asterio, and this one is just during your opponent's turn, so he doesn't have to use it during the main phase, so this is kind of scary. And then he sends with Garunix, sends the Volcanix, and then use the effect of Volcanix to special summon the Avatar Garunix, which is kind of strong, because if I destroy this, it will come back in the standby phase and nuke my board, or when this card is destroyed by battle inside the graveyard, you can special summon one Fire King monster from your deck, which is actually a super important effect here, because I have monsters to beat over it. And yeah, then I'm thinking if I want to do something, then I actually use Mirror Jade, and right here I'm banishing the Garunix, the High Avatar Garunix, because I don't want this to have either the effect to pop my board in his standby phase, nor having the effect when this card gets destroyed by battle to special summon something. And then I'm sending the Alba Lunatus, because that's the only good target I have in my extra deck left. I could have also went for Rindbrom, but I want to have Rindbrom in my graveyard still, because Light of the Branded can reborn Albus, and Albus can use a Winged Beast monster to go into Rindbrom, and this one is a Winged Beast monster, so I think it's better to send the Alba Lenatus right here. And then it's I'm going to the battle phase, and I thought if I go to the battle phase, he maybe will use something, but yeah, he does not, because why should he, right? I'm only having a 3000 attack monster. I cannot beat over the Garunix, so I decide to go to the end phase. I use Cartesia effect to add it back to my hand, and then Alba Lenatus to search me the fusion deployment, and then I use the other Albion right here. I think it's fine to set this, because if I send Brand in red, right, it gets popped by the effect of the Jurrac card that comes from the extra deck and nukes the board. But if it doesn't pop, right, I have the Brand Retribution to as an interruption, so he kind of has to pop, and this one also has a useful effect in the graveyard, so I think this is fine to set this here. Now he uses the effect of Jurrac Asterio to nuke the whole board, but I think this is still fine, because then my Branded Retribution gets in the graveyard, right, and I can use the effect to add back a fusion in the next turn, so this is not the end of the world, my board getting destroyed here. And yeah, he gets the Meteor, and the Meteor pops the whole board. And the good thing is I still have Light of the Branded, because I knew he would have done that. If I set Retribution, he kind of has to pop, because this stops every play he has in the next turn, because I always have, and also recycles me my Albion, right? This is also important for Branded Retribution here, because I shuffle back Lenatus and Albion, so I will have my resources back. And yeah, because I know he does that, I kept my Light of the Branded in the hand, and now in the end phase I can still use Light of the Branded, and this card says target one fusion monster on the field or in either graveyard, so I can return one of those back to my extra deck and return it to the extra deck. Then you can special summon one Fallen of Albus from your graveyard to your field, and one monster from your opponent's graveyard to their field, which is actually kind of crazy, because this one is synchro summoned and can now be summoned back because it's properly summoned. So I can now just use shuffle back the Mirror Jade and get back the Albus, and then special summon back Jurrac Meteor, and then use Albus effect to just discard the Cartesia, because I will get it back in the next end phase anyway, and just special summon the Mirror Jade again, and it's live again. So I think this just showed how strong of a what Light of the Brand can do, and how strong it is actually to use the Albus as an interruption like that. But he kind of top decks insane here, right? He got Fire King Island and still has Kirin in the hand. This is like a super huge draw for him. And yeah, he activates now Island and then uses Island effect to pop Kirin. And I'm like, bro, you kind of top decked insane there. But yeah, he also admitted it was insane. Then searches Ponix, uses Ponix effect, can now trigger every effect, can trigger Garunix, can trigger Kirin, gets everything back. And then special summon the Volcanics back with Kirin, pops the Mirror Jade. There, I could have used the Mirror Jade here, but I think there was not a good point to banish itself, I guess, to get the resources. But there's nothing good left I can send, right? I could have sent it to Rindbram, but then I can special summon the Albus, yes, but what do I fuse into? I don't have a Titaniclet. I have nothing I can fuse into because the extra deck is empty now. There's only Lubellion and Rindbrom in there, and he won't be special summoning a Dark Monster, so there's no reason to use the Mirror Jade here. I can now just use the end phase effect, which is not that helpful because it pops, right? So yeah, he searches the Skyburn, but and also the Barong, but this is like too late here because now he can also special summon back the Garunix, and this is already game, right? So he just goes battle phase, attacks me, and I'm just dead right here because this top deck was insane. But yeah, you see this, I lost this game because the extra deck, my extra deck was completely empty. If I had the Titaniclet in my extra deck, this game wouldn't have been over because then I could have used the Rindbrom, send it into the graveyard with Mirror Jade, banish Mirror Jade by itself, and then reborn Fallen of Albus. And Fallen of Albus could have just fused away the Garunix or whatever. I could have still done this to just body block with Albus, right? But there's no point because I will still lose because I have no targets left in the extra deck. So maybe this was still the right way to just go body block, but he still had Skyburn, right? So he could have still popped the Fawn of Albus. So yeah, I don't see this. Then yeah, I'm now just calculating the effects, and then it's the next game. I'm going first. Now my hand kind of looks fine. I have Radiant Typhoon Vision and also Mystical Space Typhoon, which is good if you draw it together because now I can draw and discard the MST. Also Fusion Deployment and Aluber and Fallen of Albus. So this hand is kind of good, but you have to keep in mind Branded is kind of nerfed. His hand also is full of engine, but yeah, he kind of has a lot of Jurrac Megalo in his hand and only like one real play together with the Sanctuary, so this is kind of hard to break the board with this hand. I'm starting with Radiant Typhoon Vision, I'm drawing High Spirits and Branded Sword, and then I actually discard the High Spirits here because I want to keep the MST. I kind of like the card because I can pop the Sanctuary, I can pop the Island, and I think that's kind of good to keep that in hand against the Fire King deck. And I can already play because I have Diffusion Deployment and Aluber. This is kind of hard. I know my opponent cannot play a lot of hand traps in his deck because his engine costs so many points, so I don't really have to play around that. So I just normal Aluber with the special summoning of Fusion Deployment first, right? Then search for Branded Fusion using effect, sending the Light Hexia Fusion and Fallen of Albus. And right here, I'm building going first board. So this was a bit of my solution when I built the new branded deck, and we'll also make a deck profile for it when I fine-tune the list. But this was like the solution to just say, okay, I cannot end, I don't have a lot of branded cards anymore to have a grind game, so maybe let me just end on different fusions then that maybe can also stop my opponent and use the branded cards in turn 3 if you break the board, right? So I will use the effect of Albion to fuse, and then I also chain the Cartesia because then I can use the Aluber and also the Albion to go into the Drag of Stapelia, which is 0 points and can be played at 3, right? And it's also not once per turn, so it's kind of good to end on. It's not as good as Mirror Jade, right? But it's still an interruption. And then I banish the Light Hexia Fusion and the Aluber. And right here, I could have just went for the Lubellion right? This would have been possible to do that. And then just shuffle back himself and Fall of Albus to go for Mirror Jade. But as I said, I don't have Albion then in the graveyard, which is not the great in the extra deck, which is not the greatest thing to have if you have Mirror Jade. So I decided to just go for Millennium Ice District. So because why not? This card is a negate, and it also equips the card, so it's kind of a strong interruption. So I just go for this. Then I set the Mystical Space Typhoon, and my plan right here, I also set the Branded Sword, which is not the right thing to do, I think, because my plan right here is to just go end phase, use the effect of Albion, and then set Light of the Branded, and then reborn Fallen of Albus with Light of the Branded, and shuffle back the Albion to special summon the Mirror Jade, and then the Mirror Jade can send the Albion again. So it's a plan to not end on Mirror Jade. The plan is to build it with Light of the Branded. That's why I also play the Hex Light Fusion, or whatever this is called. This one, Light Hex Seal Fusion, because if I banish this, I can keep the Albus in graveyard to be able to reborn in the next turn. But this engine is kind of fragile because it loses against roll, so you have to build the Millennium Ice Restrict to not against roll. It loses against DD Crow, right? So you have to have the Millennium Ice Restrict to be protected from DD Crow, so you can still reborn the Albus and then go for Mirror Jade, right? So I think this is a good workaround for not having a lot of branded cards, because then if you have Mirror Jade on the board, use the effect to send Albion, you can still use the Mirror Jade and also the Dragostapelia or the Millennium Ice District, whatever, into another Dragostapelia. Play 2 on this list. So this is actually a lot of interruptions. There's like 4 interruptions right here. And I also have like Branded Sword that can banish the Branded Fusion, which is not really good to do. So I think I should have just kept this in hand to discard with Albus, but I can just also discard High Spirit, also a free discard. And yeah, he actually draws CD Crow, which is kind of insane, right? And then he goes into the main phase. He actually sees that my board is pretty strong. He tries to use Sanctuary. I instantly MST pop it, and yeah, I think after that he kind of surrenders because he knows he only has like one push with the Volcanics, and I can just negate it with Dragostapelia and then just go Light of the Branded, shuffle everything back. And even if I cannot fuse with the Albus, right, I can still reborn it, use Cartesia, then fuse Dragostapelia and Albus into the Mirror Jade. So this is still a good thing to end on that. So yeah, he actually just scoops, and it goes to game 3. In game 3, he starts. His hand is Viking Island, also the Final Bring of the End Time, kind of good in this deck. Kirin, Garunix, and Barong. And my hand is also kind of good. It's not crazy, right? I have Radiant Typhoon Vision, which is good against this deck because I can theoretically pop the island if he doesn't have the continuous spell, which can protect it. I have Opening and Aluber. Opening Heaven against this deck is really, really good because it now can protect my fusion monsters for being destroyed by battle, so that's always good to have against Viking. And I also have a good discard for the opening, so this is kind of fine. So I can just special summon the Quem with it. So I kind of have a lot of pushes that I can just to play around this board. He starts by using the island. And Island, does he pop? He pops the Barong, which is kind of fine because this one searches in my standby phase a monster. Normally you search Kirin with it, I think, but he already has Kirin. So now he uses the Garunix trigger effect and specials the Garunix, then Garunix to destroy something in the deck. He destroys the Aravata and then uses now summons Volcanics, uses Volcanics effect, pops the Garunix, and then use the Ponix effect to special summon, search with Ponix. I think he searches, the Skyburn. And then he sets the Skyburn and also the Final Bringer of the End Time. So this is 2 strong pop interruptions. He has Kirin in hand, and he can search with the Barong and can also reborn the Arvata. I think with Kirin in my turn, this should be possible. So his board is a lot of interruption, but popping is not a really strong interruption against Branded, right? So his board is fine, but it cannot completely stop me. I also top deck Brigand's Kit, which is not the best draw here, but it's fine because if I have a branded monster, Albus monster on the board in the graveyard, it can actually special summon itself, and that could be kind of nice. Then in the draw phase, I do not use it in the draw phase. Okay, I think I thought about using Radiant Typhoon here in the draw phase to just pop it, but I decided to not do it. Let's just see what he. I just wanted to see what he does, and he searches the Rung Bali, which is you can negate the activation. When a spell / trap card or effect is activated while this card is on the field, quick effect you can negate the activation. If you do, destroy one other fire monster in your hand or face on the field. So this is like the Pondor to Aravata to negate spell traps, which is kind of good against branded. I have to admit. Then go into the main phase. Then I just start with Aluber here. I think this is a fine start here. I actually know that he cannot play like Imperm or anything, so I know this must be Skyburn and this something like Final Bringer of the End Times. I actually predict this being a Final Bringer of the End Times, which is kind of correct, right? And it's also really good in this deck to be played, so I predict that. And he actually changes it on the Aluber because I think he wants to special summon the Rung Bali to be able to negate my branded fusion. But I don't really care about that right here because my Aluber resolves, right? So this is everything I need at this time on rest. Then he can use the Rung Bali. And yeah, special summons then the Garunix out of the deck. And special summons the Rung Bali from the hand, and now he has a Spell Trap negate. And right here, I'm just using the Radiant Typhoon Vision not to draw because I want to keep my opening. I could have also used it to draw, right? And then discard the opening to have it in a graveyard as the protection. But I actually want to use the effect of opening here to special summon because I have Branded Sword and I also want to have this in the graveyard to be able to recycle. And I actually want to have the Radiant, the MST to be able to pop the island, and when island gets destroyed, his whole board will be destroyed, so his Rung Bali will also be gone, and I can freely use Brand Fusion here. So I search for the MST. This is such a good card, right? I'm really surprised this got no points. It's still the 0 points. So yeah, Radiant Typhoon, kind of crazy. Got no hit on the last points list. Then I use MST to pop the Fire King Island. He just actually lets it go through. Then his whole board gets destroyed. And then he can special summon back the Garunix. And then Kirin effect special summons back the Rangali. Yeah, kind of makes sense because he wants to have that on the field to be able to negate Branded Fusion. But yeah, I kind of have another Kaiju, right? And then I just Kaiju this guy. This is like too much now. I can freely play. He only has like Skyburn left, but if I have opening, which I actually chained right here, because this is like super clever. Because if I use Brand Fusion first and then chain opening to special summon the Quem, he cannot just Skyburn pop it right here. So if I do it this way, the Quem is on the board, which I show you now. I special summon Quem right here, and after that the Brand Fusion resolves. So he's not able to pop the Quem right here. So in the next chain, Quem will be able to use both effects. She will be able to use the Reborn effect, because I have targets because of Brand Fusion in the graveyard, and she will also be able to send. And he's not able to just pop it before she can use her effect. So this is kind of... I think a good play to do it like that. And I actually sent Cartesia to be able to special summon it back with Quem. Then I special summon the Albion. And then I have a new chain. Trigger effect Albion, trigger effect Quem, and also the other trigger effect of Quem. So I write it down here. Chaining 3 is Reborn, and chaining 2 is Send. I think I don't know how I chained it here. I wrote it a little bit confusing, but I used both effects, and then chaining 1 is Albion. And then I send with Quem, actually, I sent the Albion, which is, I think, the correct play, because now I can use its effect to get Retribution in the graveyard. I could have also just sent Retribution straight away, but I think it's always better to send Albion if you can, because then you can decide on what you want to send, right? And I don't have to immediately decide what I want to send here. So yeah, it doesn't make a huge difference, but I think it's the better play to send Albion here. And then I reborn the Cartesia. And then, oh no, I actually use the Albion to banish it, right? Oh yeah, then because I don't want to banish my Albas, if I can, I don't want to banish the Albas. And I also have Branded Sword in the graveyard. Yeah, this was the idea I had. I did not see it right here, but I have Branded Sword in the graveyard, and then I can just banish the Albion to fuse with it, and then add back the Albion, and then use its effect in my hand, and also draw a card. Actually, a better play I saw when I playing it than I'm seeing now. And I'm going for Chaos right here, because I'm fusing 2 dragons, light and dark dragons. I think this is an okay play. I just want to have the Skyburn out of the way, so I will be able to OTK, because I know this is Skyburn, but I think I'm doing a slight mistake here, because I'm actually targeting the Skyburn and also the Garunix. I think it would have just been the better play to just target Kaiju and the Garunix, because the Skyburn is kind of dead if he doesn't have the Garunix on the field anymore, so I don't think there's a reason to just target Skyburn here. I think this was a misplay, but I don't think it matters in the end. He obviously changed the Skyburn now, and then pops the Quem, which does not matter here at all, because whatever he targets, I can always chain the Cartesia, right, and then fuse it away. So I think it would have been better to just pop one of the bigger beaters, so I do have to fuse them away, so I won't be able to fuse away with them. But right here, I'm just fusing away the Cartesia and going for Coritas. And then, yeah, it's still game, because I can use Branded Sword to add back the Albion, and Coritas can just make this a 0, and then I can just beat over all those cards. And if I just special summon Spriggan's Kid, this is already game right here. So yeah, I don't really know what he still has in hand, so I just play it out, and then use Coritas, and then special summon Kid. The important thing is I use Coritas first and then special summon Kid, because if I don't do it that way, she will be 0. I could have also just special summoned the Radiant Kaiju here, but I don't think this matters here anymore, so I just use Kid now, and yeah, he just sees it that he lost and then admits defeat. So I think this was a kind of nice display of skill that Branded can still work, right? I think this deck is not that easily killable, even if you hit every single extra deck monster. Don't get me wrong, this deck got way less strong. It's not as strong as before the hit, but it can still be played. And yeah, I will also post a list that I played here. So yeah. Thank you guys a lot for watching the video. Leave your opinion in the comments, and how you want to play Brand in the future. I'm really interested in that, because I don't think there is yet the right way found how you want to play the branded deck in Genesys now. And also, if you like my content, maybe consider subscribing. That would make me really happy. So thank you again for watching, and see you in the next video.